Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another review on Stargirl Season 2, and this is going to be my review for Episode 4 for this season, otherwise entitled Summer School Chapter 4. Of course, spoilers, and whoa! We got some big stuff handed out in this episode, multiple name drops, multiple reveals. An episode I didn't think was going to be that big, to be completely honest. I thought it was going to be sort of a catch-up from the events of last season, but a lot happened in this episode. I'm actually overly shocked at how much happened in this episode. Pretty crazy. But of course, if you watch the episode, everything like that, let me know in the comment section down below your general thoughts, reactions, theories, everything like that going forward. Very curious to hear what you guys have to say. And of course, if you enjoyed the video, you enjoyed the episode, why not drop a like on it, on this video specifically, to show your support and enjoyment levels. So last episode was also another pretty big episode where we had the Thunderbolt pink pen introduction sort of thing. Mike gets to use it. We get to meet the Thunderbolt genie. Johnny Thunder as well in the past. A lot of stuff there. We also have the Shade learning that Eclipso is free, which worries him quite a lot, which then also leads to an encounter with him and the JSA later on when we get to see the Shade's full powers. And even in this episode, it even suggests that he's even not at a full power level in that scene from the previous episode as well. We'll talk about that later in this video in regards to this week's episode. But then at the end of the episode, the pink pen or the Thunderbolt pen does end up with Jakeem Williams, aka the future Jakeem Thunder. Don't see him in this episode. I'm sure we're going to see him in a couple of weeks' time. Not too sure when. But yeah, he now has the pink pen. So I'm sure we'll have some fun with the Thunderbolt genie and him soon enough. But we do pick up this episode with Artemis going to see her mother and father, Sportsmaster and Tigress, or Crusher and Paula, in prison. Obviously, we knew going into this episode they were going to be a focus. Now, we didn't get to see them last season go to prison, but of course they were taken down. And at the beginning of this season, we saw Crusher's gym close down and that they'd been placed in prison, or they said it and everything like that. So we knew that they were in prison. But Artemis is just giving them an update on how she is going and how she misses them, which you can tell is hitting them, and it's making them struggle a bit. But we do get to pick up with Beth from last episode, following on from when Chuck revealed that quote-unquote Eclipso is here. But more importantly, Beth tries to push her mother towards some sort of reconnection with her father, avoid that divorce, go on a putt-putt or mini golf, date of sorts. But there's no luck there, unfortunately, for Beth. But there is some sort of luck with Chuck. Sort of like no luck at the same time, with the file on Eclipso being labelled as confidential. So there's no access there for Beth, but we know there is some history there that's sort of being, kept quite secret, even for, the use of the Chuck AI, which was getting them to a lot of stuff, still can't get them into that confidential folder. Now, Barbara and Pat do continue their talk about Eclipso, but Courtney does overhear the name Eclipso and brings up that Beth forwarded what happened at the end of last episode where, it said Eclipso was here and everything like that. And Courtney does want to know why all this information on him is classified, and Pat gives a very scared and worried answer. So Eclipso gets in your head, gets into your dark side, makes you do things that you wouldn't do. And Pat does say that the JSA defeated Eclipso, but he doesn't know how, or at least he's not explaining how. So did they actually defeat him? I guess that's a question. But another worry is the fact that the Shade is after the diamond of Eclipso. Now, we know as the audience that the Shade doesn't look too eager to use the diamond. But I guess if you didn't know that, and you're in the shoes of Courtney and Pat, it's a scary thought to think of an Eclipso-influenced Shade. I mean, talk about overpowered. Now, speaking of Eclipso, we do have Cindy in the Injustice Society's headquarters speaking to Eclipso, and she's just repeating that she didn't want her stepmother Bobby to die, but Eclipso reveals that she really isn't that upset about killing Bobby. It's more about her real mother, her birth mother, who we know Cindy killed following her transformation from her father. Now, Eclipso wants Cindy to move on, only wanting to, help Cindy achieve what she desires, which is to form this new Injustice Society, which we do see that painting change, or mural change, to showing an interesting outfit for what we should assume is Artemis, alongside Cameron Marquand, Mike Dugan, and Isaac Bowen as well, with Cindy in the middle. So we get to see this new Injustice Society, or Injustice Limited, and what Cindy is trying to bring together. Now, of course, as I said, we see that interesting outfit from what we can assume is Artemis, but then again, they were wearing a mask, so you never know. It might not be Artemis, even though the episode sort of ends saying that it will be Artemis, but there could be a twist there. Who knows? But speaking of Artemis, we do get to see her current deal, her current deal, her current situation. You almost feel bad for her because even though her parents were villains and everything are villains, they didn't stop being villains. They cared about her and loved her. Like she had like a loving family and a loving setup. But maybe Artemis's luck is about to change as we do see Mike on his paper out with the news, out there in the world that Sportsmaster and Tigress or Crusher and Paula have escaped prison. And Mike, of course, has some pretty bad luck and, he runs into them. Would have been good if he had the pink pen at that time, but yeah, he gave it up last episode. Now, we do have some little things like Courtney versus Artemis if you want to be overly over the top in the cafeteria, where Courtney tries to, reach out a hand of forgiveness, or in this case, the forgiving apple. But it doesn't go that well. Artemis takes it pretty personally, crushes the apple and everything like that. There's just a lot of tension between the two, which builds up towards the end, but not in a way you would think. But obviously we'll get to that. Now, Rick does pass his test. Well, actually nails his test without any judgment from his teacher this time around. More forgiveness, really. I think it was good to have that scene. I'm surprised we didn't get it maybe in like the previous episode, but maybe they thought this was the episode that they were able to fit it in and everything like that. But yeah, so I guess Rick, no more summer school for him, so that's good for him. But one of the, more interesting moments in this episode to build up for, I guess, in a few episodes' time is Isaac Bowen in the cafeteria, and he is approached by Cindy, where she begins her recruitment process for her new Injustice Society. And we then later see, I'll just jump to this moment, we have Cindy taking Isaac Bowen to the Injustice Society's headquarters, where he sees his father on the big painting on the wall, and this is where Cindy passes over the violin or fiddle from his father as well as mother. But of course, Isaac plays the tuba, or the tuba, whichever way you want to pronounce it, not the violin or fiddle, but Cindy tells him that he will learn, and of course, we should assume that he will learn how to play that fiddle. Now, Mike does contact Pat about some old friends, shall we say, being back in Blue Valley, and Pat knows it's Crusher. Like, you can just tell he knows it's Crusher. Obviously, the newspaper helps. Now, Crusher and Paula aren't in Blue Valley for revenge or anything like that. They just want to fit into their normal life just for one day, attend their daughter's football tryouts, help them lay low for the day until that happens. And they will break into prison afterwards. They'll break back into prison, might I say, afterwards, which sounds insane and it sounds like, let's be honest, a load of crap. But maybe they are crazy enough to be telling the truth. I mean, let's be honest, they do seem that crazy. Maybe they are telling the truth. Now, the interactions between Pat and Crusher were some of my highlights in Season 1, or some of the highlights at least in Season 1. I'm sure most of you guys would have enjoyed them. And that continues in this episode. Very funny. Now, Pat does bring up the shade, but Crusher is just not a fan of him at all. And I sort of wanted to hear specifically what Dragon King did to the wizard's body, but maybe it was just a bit too grotesque to mention. So maybe just keep that in so, make people guess and think what happened there. I would have liked to have not maybe seen it, but at least heard what specifically happened. Now, from what we can tell, this is the only episode that Crusher and Paula are in for this season. However, the news did come out. This, I guess, is a spoiler. Not really. I don't think it's a spoiler. But the news was announced that Sportsmaster and Tigress, or Crusher and Paula, will be series regulars in Season 3. So they're going to be main characters in Season 3. I don't know what that means for Artemis as a character and what happens at the end of this season, but that news did come out. But I must say, I wonder if people would have had some sort of relation to the scene. We had like Paula judging Barbara's choice of grocery purchasing, and it just felt a bit too real. Like I've had my experiences with people like that, or seen that happen between, parents and everything like that. But they find some common ground in their daughters, which I guess was a good start, at least a good area in that conversation. Now, Yolanda is struggling at her new job, but we do see the new JSA's first bit of research on Eclipso, and we learn of Diablo Island, which was on the maps of the world in the early 1800s, but in 1832 specifically, it was taken off, or at least it wasn't there in the 1832 edition, due to people disappearing on this island. Now, the story of Diablo Island was that there were two warring tribes on either side of the island, with one of the sides summoning what will end up being Eclipso and then trapping that within a diamond. Now, Bruce Gordon went to Diablo Island. He was like a famous explorer. He went there where everyone was already dead when he landed, but he was the only person who ever returned. And of course, Bruce Gordon was the little boy we saw at the beginning of the season. He was the boy who Eclipso had taken over, who then had killed Rebecca McNider. But of course, in that book, he was an adult. So it's very mysterious what's going on. And I'm sure we're going to learn, more and more in these next few episodes. But man, there's a mystery going on. Now, Courtney does go to a used bookstore to look more into Bruce Gordon because she went through the library, tore it down, every book, and wasn't really able to find much. However, in this used bookstore, the Shade is there waiting for her, where Courtney threatens his plans to team up with Eclipso, which the Shade takes as like an insult, and the Shade dives into the difference between bad and evil, but also reveals to Courtney that Eclipso killed Dr. Midnight's daughter, with the Shade also telling Courtney to leave Eclipso to him, that he will deal with it, though he is keeping his true reasoning for doing what he is doing hidden. He says, oh, I was bored, so that's why I'm dealing with this now. It's like, no, there's another reason. Why are you doing it specifically now? And I'm very curious to find out. I wonder if it has something to do with what happened at the end of the episode, or it's another reason that we'll find out in the next few episodes. There's something else there. As I said before, there's just a lot of mystery. It's very mysterious. Now, Pat does take Crusher and Paula to Artemis's football tryout, but she is struggling. She's struggling, her head's not in the game, everything like that. But Crusher and Paula are able to let her know that that they are there, which gets her head in the game. She's able to nail a certain play, but at the same time, Cindy arrives at the football game or the football tryouts and uses Eclipso to get through to Artemis, which at the same time, we see a SWAT team approaching her mother and father, Artemis's mother and father, might I say, as if they're going to shoot them and take them down. Hey, you escaped prison, we're going to shoot you in the head in the front of everyone here. But it's all in Artemis's head, and instead of attacking the SWAT officer that's there, she's instead attacking Courtney, which obviously would, Courtney find a bit personal, maybe connected to the beginning of the episode. Now, Crusher and Paula open up to Artemis, reveal that they are actually guilty, so it's going to stop Artemis going, they're innocent in prison, they didn't do anything, so it's going to stop all that, and they aren't going to stand in her way with who they are, and they have to go back to prison right now, which obviously is hard for Artemis because she probably had this, flashpoint moment where she thought, oh, my parents are back, and everything like that, but that's quickly, thrown away. Now, Courtney does ask Pat, straight after this pretty much, whether he knew about what Eclipso did to Rebecca McNider, which he did, but he doesn't reveal anything more. Now, whether there are any more secrets is for us to find out, and his conversation with Barbara at the end of the episode, or towards the end of the episode, potentially suggests that, but then again, Pat didn't seem too sure about how Eclipso was taken down, so maybe there is a lot Pat doesn't know, as he wasn't in the thick of action back in the day, as we know, but then again, that could be another secret that Pat is keeping, so I don't know if there are secrets there. I don't know if that's a good thing. But then again, he could be protecting Courtney at the same time. So it's a flip of the coin as to what's going on there, whether Pat actually knows more. I think he does, but I don't think he knows heaps. That would explain how to take down Eclipso, what they did last time. And maybe that's a key for the Shade or something along those lines. But it's going to be interesting to see how that is all revealed and how they build up to a potential takedown of Eclipso. Now, unfortunately, Artemis, stuff was going well for Artemis. Sure, her parents had to go back to prison, but it seemed like she nailed the football tryout. But she's not allowed in the football team due to her temper, which we can blame on Eclipso. But she is invited into another team by Cindy. That's the new Injustice Society, or Injustice Unlimited. So that's 2 new members in one episode. Isaac Bowen and Artemis Croc nailed down. Cindy is definitely making some ground, and I'm interested to see how she connects with Cameron and then potentially Mike to finish off that awesome team that she's building. But to finish off the episode, something I wasn't expecting, we have Beth in her room trying to relaunch Chuck like we've been seeing her do since episode 1 of this season, with him once again not knowing who Beth is when he gets launched, but also not knowing why she is calling him Chuck. But he tells her he isn't an AI, but that he has been lost for all these years, and he has been trapped in the Shadowlands. Dr. Mid-Nite is alive, and we get to see him in his Dr. Mid-Nite suit walking through the Shadowlands. So that's why the Shade disputed Beth's attacks at him last episode about Chuck. But the Shadowlands is connected to the Shade. So why is he just kept in there? Is the Shade keeping Dr. Mid-Nite prisoner? Which could be the case. However, I know in the comics that the Shade lost his proper connection, I guess you would call it, and the Shadowlands didn't cooperate with him, so there wasn't a mutual cooperation going on there. The Shade drew his powers and everything from there, but it wasn't necessarily he had an actual control over it. So maybe he placed Dr. Mid-Nite in there in that battle now 11 years ago, but wasn't able to get Dr. Mid-Nite out. He did say earlier that he only killed people that deserved it. He was bad. He wasn't evil, so he only killed people that deserved it. Did Dr. Mid-Nite deserve to die? No, you would say no. So the Shade could have placed him in the Shadowlands during that fight, but then wasn't able to retrieve him afterwards. That's a big reveal, and I can't wait to see where that goes in the future episode, whether it's next week or future episodes, whether it's next week or, 3 episodes from now. But they've really opened not a can of worms necessarily, but a big door that we now have a surviving member of the old JSA. Obviously, we all thought they died on that night outside of Pat, and then I guess Owlman who died later, but this one's alive. Where's that going to go? As I said, there's a lot of mystery going on, and I can't wait to see how they explain that. But yeah, once again, another cracking episode, another great episode for Stargirl Season 2. And as I said at the beginning of the video, a lot more was revealed and a lot more happened in this episode than I expected. And I should just go into episodes just expecting stuff to happen, because that's 2 weeks in a row where a lot has gone down that I wasn't expecting to happen. So I've just got to reset my entry point or entry view going into episodes, because I'm constantly getting overly shocked in regards to how much happens. But yeah, another great episode. Probably not my favorite of the season. I still think last episode was my favorite, but I really did love the reveals and the interactions within this episode as well. And I can't wait to see where it all goes, whether it's next week or the weeks to come. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome. You could drop a like on it to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below your general thoughts on this episode. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What moments did you love and hate? Any theories going forward? What do you think's going on with Dr. Mid-Nite and the Shadowlands? Do you have a different explanation to what I gave? Let me know, because I'm always curious. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe, and I will catch you guys later. Goodbye.